One adjustment that'll make them the winner.
Well, let's take a look, Al, at your keys to victory in tonight's main event.
This may give us a clue. You never know. For Toney, he's got to stay busy. He tends to take minutes off in a round. He's got to get inside the jab of Mike McCallum where he can work on the inside. When I say McCallum can't be sloppy, don't get into an inside sloppy fight. Keep yourself at a certain distance with your jab and your straight right hand, and don't forget the jab. He likes to punch in the body, but he's got to use that jab.
Mike McCallum, at 40 years of age, making his way into the ring. 54 professional fights, 365 rounds as a pro.
Ring officials assigned by the World Boxing Union, President John Robinson, Chairman Ed Levine. The attending supervisor tonight is Frank Brunette. Your judges at ringside are, from Helena, Montana, Kevin McCall; from Newark, New Jersey, Larry Hazard Jr., and from New Britain, Connecticut, Steve Epstein. Your referee for this event, from Windsor, Connecticut, the stupendous Steve Smoger. Introducing now the principals first. In the red corner to my right, wearing the light blue trunks, white trim, he weighs 181 pounds. His professional record, 49 victories, 4 defeats, 1 draw. He has 36 wins by way of knockout. He hails from Las Vegas, Nevada. He is the former WBA junior middleweight champion of the world, the former WBA middleweight champion of the world, the WBC light heavyweight champion of the world. Introducing Mike the Body Snatcher McCallum. His opponent, in the blue corner, wearing the black sequin trunks, weighing 182 pounds. His professional record, 53 victories, 3 defeats, 2 draws. He has 35 wins by way of knockout. He hails from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He is the former IBF middleweight champion of the world, the former IBF super middleweight champion of the world, and the former WBU light heavyweight champion of the world. Here is James Lights Out Toney. 12 rounds for the vacant WBU Cruiserweight Championship of the world.
Let's take a look at the rules as governed by the WBU for tonight's championship bout. No 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. Fighter may not be saved by the bell in any round. Mandatory standing 8 count, 10-point must scoring system. 3 judges will score the fight at ringside. Mike McCallum has 5 first-round knockouts in his career, none in his last 24 fights. That's 9 years, 11 months, and 1 day. Last one came in '87 against Leroy Hester. James Toney has 5 first-round knockouts. His last came against Phil Moorfield in March of 1990. That's 6 years, 11 months, 22 days ago, and 42 fights ago.
Mike McCallum coming right out to establish his jab. I think that's a key in this bout for both men. Both have excellent jabs. Both tend to underuse that punch.
This is the heaviest that McCallum has ever fought at. He fought at 180 pounds back in 1993 in a 10-round decision in France against Razim Hassan. Toney was 183 pounds back in July in St. Charles, Missouri, with a 10-round win over Charles Oliver.
And Toney was walking around at about 200 pounds not that long ago, so he does tend to put on some weight in between fights. That may be the understatement of the century.
Common opponents for these two: Roy Jones Jr., both losing 12-round decisions, and Glenn Thomas, both with 10-round wins. That's just a stumble by Toney.
You know what's interesting? You have these two guys, McCallum 40 years old, James Toney with some marks on his record, and yet you look at these two in the ring and you say, I'm fascinated to see which guy can beat the other. I mean, that's the feeling you get about this fight. People at ringside, if you ask 10 people, I bet you get 5 that'll say McCallum and 5 that'll say Toney will win.
They have ducked nobody. Mentioned McCallum has fought 11 champions. Roy Jones Jr., Jeff Harding, Toney, Sumbu Kalambe, Steve Collins, Donald Curry, Milton McCrory, Julian Jackson, to name a few. Toney against Roy Jones, Charles Williams, Iran Barkley, Reggie Johnson, Michael Nunn.
Yeah, so they've been through a who's who of the junior middleweight, middleweight, and super middleweight. One thing that Toney's getting done early, he's getting the left hook in, and he got it right. McCallum is dropping his right hand, and Toney is finding a home for that left hook. And a point, to be made is these men are heavier. They're fighting at a weight that's much bigger. Miguel Diaz made the point. When they fought at 160, it was smaller men. They have more power now.
When we saw Toney here on ESPN's Championship Boxing in August in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, a 9th round knockout of Duran Williams when he defended his WBU light heavyweight championship, he employed the roper dope.
He did languish on the ropes a lot. He has found some intriguing ways to save energy during fights. Pretty active first round, though, especially for Toney. He has a tendency not to be that way. There's that body work from McCallum. He loves that.
A little left hook from McCallum. We come to the end of round 1, scheduled for 12. Toney McCallum 3 on ESPN's Championship Boxing. And Mom Sherry watching James Lights Out Toney and Mike McCallum for the 3rd time. Round number 2 is underway.
You know what the sad part is? I think her scorecard is more accurate than mine. That's what worries me. And, drawn nicer, too, I might add.
Good round 1 for Toney. Jasmine had to like that.
Because she may be a little partial in her scoring. They told McCallum when he's on the inside, don't just stand in front of Toney. You got to take a step to the left or a step to the right. The way Toney fights you, if you don't take a step to your left when you throw your left hook, you'll never land it because he has a way of dipping that shoulder, and he's made many fighters look really bad in that regard.
McCallum has 5 second-round knockouts in his career. Toney has 7.
I think that these guys could fight 150 rounds, and they would all be close, as evidenced by round 1.
There's a shot.
McCallum with a very slight edge. I actually ended up giving the round to Toney the last round, but you see how close the numbers are. See, there's an example of why Mike McCallum, for instance, ends up with edge in numbers. Now, he didn't land all those jabs, but there's a jab that got it. It wasn't a great punch, but he jabbed to the body. He's constantly busy, and he makes things happen in the ring.
Don't let him back in the round. Come on. Hands there,
Left hand by Toney.
The left hook is there for Toney whenever he wants to throw it. Because Mike McCallum is really dropping his right hand a lot. Toney has a good left hook, but it's one of many punches he has that are underutilized.
Final 30 seconds of round 2.
McCallum slapping with his punches. He has a habit of doing that. That's maybe the one chink in his armor as a fighter. He's got a good left hook, though. It's the punch that knocked Donald Curry flat when they fought as junior middleweights, but he tends to slap with it sometimes.
Round number 2 coming to an end. This one is scheduled for 12 for the vacant WBU Cruiserweight Championship on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Vacant WBU Cruiserweight Championship, and good action to start round number 3. Mike McCallum, former 3-time world champion, has been in with 11 champions in his career. We asked him what he's most proudest about his illustrious boxing career.
I'm most proud of my career overall. What mainly I'm proud of is that, as you mentioned, I'm 40 years old, and I'm still ranked, still running around with the guys who are just young, 28 years old, 27 years old. I think that's a good accomplishment, a good achievement by itself.